I can't. I, I honestly can't do this with a straight face. I can't saw on YouTube. Oh my god. I can't on YouTube. Apologies for that cringe fest. I just finished watching Anikulapo and I'm in a really good mood. So I just had to express. Anikulapo stars Kunle Remi and Bimbo Ademoye and is directed by the legendary Kunle Afolayan. The whole of this film is in Yoruba and it's not even like normal Yoruba. They are not like, it's like, I don't know if it's an Ibadan accent because I'm barely Yoruba myself, but it sounded like an Ibadan accent. The way they were saying like Ise instead of like Ishe and those kind of stuff. Spoiler alert, in case you've not seen this film is available on Netflix. Please go and watch it. This film is a really nice film. You don't want it to be spoiled for you before you watch it, so go and watch it. And for those of us, the normal gang that have seen this film, here is a quick synopsis of this film in English. The film is not in, the synopsis is, you get, and then we'll come back here and talk about all of the things that I loved about this film, which is a lot. Anikulapo is a Yoruba period masterpiece that reminds us that men are never to be trusted. It follows the life of Saro Alashofi. For a man that makes clothes, he has an uncanny knack for wanting to see women without any clothing. He starts with his sugar mommy, then to nobody's mommy, and finally his child's mommy. In the midst of all of this, he is lynched for having an affair with Arolake, the king's wife, and resurrects, not on Easter Sunday, with the power of life and death in his hands, literally. He spends the rest of this film raising the dead and trying to marry every fine babe. However, his ability to control his lust for women is as weak as his pull-out game, and this eventually leads to his downfall. So before we talk about things that I loved, let's talk about things I didn't like. It's quite a number also, but in comparison to the things I like, it's not even close. So if you know Yoruba people, and Nigerians and Africans generally, you know we are quite loud. I didn't know we're loud until I moved outside Nigeria as a country, and I still didn't even really know we're loud because I think I slowly learned how not to be as loud. I knew that Nigerians as a people, especially Lagosians, are extremely loud. When I went back to Nigeria in the summer of 2018 and I was in the car with my dad, my mom, and my siblings, and everybody was shouting at each other. And I'm like, why are we are all in the same car. We can just talk. Yeah. I mean, the point of that story, like I said, I'm really happy. You can see. The point of that story is to say one of the things I didn't like about this film, which is the color grading. One of the things that really influences how our culture is represented is the kind of people we are, which is the loud people, and that's why we have loud colors. If you watch a lot of historic British films or like American films, you see that they have like dull colors and like they're wearing suits, black, whatnot. And it's like, boring, Peaky Blinders energy. But African films and Nigerian films, in color is embedded in our culture, and so we usually have like a lot of bright colors. One of the things I didn't like about this film, and this is just a personal thing, is the fact that the whole color of the film wasn't as bright. I don't really know how to explain. Like if I was editing, I would know how to do that edit, but I don't really know how to explain like, oh, this color was too much or whatever. But yeah, it felt a bit not that bright. The saturation, I don't know. I will show you a clip of Wedding Party, which is another African film, Nigerian film, that uses colors well, and you can see the difference. So that's not taking anything away from this film at all. I still absolutely loved it. I would have just loved if the colors in the film was a bit more vibrant. The second thing I don't like about this film is the English experience. So, like I said, I was initially watching this film in English, and the sound was not the same. And that's weird because I could hear the voices. It was Shola Shobowale's voice. It was Kunle Remi's voice. So the same people that voiced the Yoruba voiced the English, but it just didn't feel. I feel like people that watched it in English had a completely different experience than people that watched it in Yoruba. And that's another thing I don't like about it, since Nigeria as a country is very, very, we have like 5 billion ethnic, 350, but we have a lot of ethnic groups and like 500 languages. And so Yoruba is not like, not everybody speaks Yoruba or understands it. And so for people that did not understand or do not understand Yoruba, watching the film in English was not the same experience. That's another thing I don't really like about it. Okay, now to the things I liked. Casting. Hopefully it gets to a time when I do reviews of movies and do not mention good casting, because I think that essentially good casting is a part of a film. Like you have a casting director and you guys hold auditions for a reason, to find the right people to play certain roles. So except maybe it's like exceptionally fit characters, like maybe Shola Shobowale in King of Boys, or like Ryan Reynolds in Deadpool, like characters that you can't even think of any other human being playing those roles. I hopefully will not be talking about good casting, but like I said, in this film, I think they had good casting. All of the roles that they gave to people in the film was amazing. Kule Remi really played his role of Saro well. Bimbo Ademoye played the role of Arolake well. I don't even want to talk about Shola Shobowale, because I think she's already like a staple. Like she should. I'm going to hopefully Photoshop a photo of her wearing number 7, because they should just give her that number 7 shirt, because she's genuinely like one of the goats in the Nigerian cinema.
Now why will we they call them goat?
And if you grew up watching a lot of Yoruba cinema, Yoruba films, shout out to Mommy Ade. She's probably never going to see this video, but she was the one that got me started on watching Yoruba films. And it wasn't like I had a choice. She just used to like play it, and I had to sit down and watch it. But then most of the people that we saw, most of the chiefs, most of the people that play kings, like, you know, those stereotypical roles in Yoruba films, all of those guys, maybe save like 2 or 3, all of them were in this film. And I really love the fact that it was, I don't want to say fan service, but it felt very, very, the cast was very lovable. Every beautiful work. Another thing I love about the casting is the fact that Mr. Macaroni, I don't know his real name, I apologize, was also cast in the film, but did not play the role of Mr. Macaroni carrying women and whatnot. He was just like an actor. Do you get what I mean? Like, yes. I literally just shot a video about me being upset about Brother Shaggy playing the same role everywhere. Watch watch Brother Shaggy, watch this film and see. I know it's not Brother Shaggy's fault. Like, I'm never going to bring the anger from that one there. So yeah, let's go to the next thing I love about this film. The second thing I love about this film is the fact that Hakim Kai Kazim's character did not utter one word in this film. So I essentially don't know why he had to be in the film, and I honestly do not care. Maybe it was going to help with the PR, maybe it was going to help with whatever. But generally, we have characters like this. If you watch the series Bob Hearts Abishola Bob, yeah, the series, there are like a couple of Nigerian characters that sound very, and that's the way, whenever I watch Hakim Kai Kazim in films, he sounds the least Nigerian that I know. And like I said, I don't know why they had to bring him in, but the fact that they brought him in and he didn't utter a word to essentially affect the whole energy of the film and like soil the sanctity of the whole film, I love that. Okay, so I also love the fact that the film was self-aware enough to know the fact that he wasn't speaking in the film. I know those sound like a billion words, but yeah, the film was self-aware, and you rarely see African or Nigerian films self-aware enough to know this. I recently watched Deadpool, and Deadpool, first of all, I think because of the fact that it's a very comedic film, the film is constantly self-aware, telling you, oh, this is poor writing, oh, this is this, and Ryan Reynolds just eats up whatever character he's playing as Deadpool. However, that's not my point. This film was self-aware to know the fact that Kai Kazim wasn't talking, and they put it in an essential part of the story. They didn't just leave it out. They handled it in the film and said, why isn't he talking? And then they came up in the film with different reasons, and they just left it up to our imaginations to actually decide what actually caused him not to speak. But like I said, they handled it beautifully. He didn't talk because he was going to spoil the film, but then if they did not just let him talk, it would have left a gray area. So they put it in the film that he wasn't talking, and it was just beautifully done. The third thing I like about this film is the writing. So there were many times in that when I was watching this film that I had to strain my ear because, like I said, it has like this Ibadan accent kind of thing, and my Yoruba is not in the most mint condition, so I had to like really strain my ear to hear what they were saying. But the lines and the story, like essentially the screenplay, was very artistic and was very poetic. There was rhyme, there was alliteration, there was proverbs, there was similes, there was metaphors. It was a very intelligently done screenplay. If you are not Yoruba and you watched it in the English version, maybe you didn't see all of these things, but there were a lot of things in this film that was excellently done artistically, and you just love, like, I hope that one day I will be able to write that good. Do you get what I mean? Like, that was beautiful. Wow. Another thing I like about this film is the fact that this film understands how to carry this kind of story. So many times when Nigerians try to carry this kind of story, or writers, or I don't want to say Nigerians because, I mean, generally, when people try to carry this kind of story, they try to do it with plots. They try to give us so many action things because the film has a lot of characters, and essentially the film is in phases, like is in this place, is in this place, is in this place. When people want to carry that kind of story, they try to do it with a lot of plot points. This film decides to hinge itself on relationships because essentially that's what life is. Life is relationships, and all of the things that happen in life are an offspring of relationships that we have with people, whether it is friendship or relationships or whatnot. And what they did in this film was build relationships. They brought in Saro, built a relationship with I can't remember her name, Shola Shobowale's character. They showed us relationships between the king and his chiefs, and they established. You guys don't understand how good this film is. It makes me really happy to see a Nollywood film done like this, especially because of the way the story was done and the plot. Yeah, I've been seeing reviews that this is a Kunle Afolayan masterpiece. Yes, directing was good, but the story just makes me, the writing, thank you. So there are so many other things I love about this film, and I know I cannot put all of them in this video, but the last thing that I love about it was the ending. It was very cliche. It was very expected. Now let me explain that. If you grew up listening to Yoruba lore, folklore, stories of the dog and the tortoise, so all of those stories, Yoruba lore doesn't really have superheroes in the conventional sense that we have in Western media and in Western cinema. In the Western media, we have good people that have flaws that we can relate with and we support throughout the journey until the end. In Yoruba folklore, especially the ones that I had listened to, or the laws and all that I heard and read when I was younger and growing up as a Yoruba kid, Yoruba folklore usually involved a bad guy that had attributes that we could relate with, but that they were telling us to desist from. So we used to, generally, Yoruba stories would be somebody decided to do something bad and it led to a repercussion. And all Yoruba folklore used to end essentially with a lesson. That was the whole point of it. And I think this film did that absolutely well. Cliche is not bad. Cliche is bad when, like, what I mean is cliche is not essentially bad. Cliche can be bad. Cliche is bad when it is lazy, when it's like you guys didn't even put any thought into it. You're like, okay, what usually happens? You put it there. This story, it's obvious to see that yes, it's cliche, it's the normal thing that happens in this kind of Yoruba stories, but it was well thought, it was well planned. They created the character as Yoruba. It was essential in locking it in Yoruba law. Do you get what I mean? In locking it into how Yoruba stories are told. Him being who he was and eventually having the end that he had, which would be a lesson to all of us watching this film, is how Yoruba stories have always been told. And I like the fact that they did not just randomly want to, go out of... I think Kunle Afolayan has already set himself apart as a king in making period pieces. So from Swallow to Ara Romire, I think I'm even pronouncing the wrong film, to October 1st, to all of it. He makes a lot of very good period pieces. And this film is a period piece that is also some kind of like folklore, fictional. It's kind of like a Yoruba equivalent to something like the story of Dracula or the story of Cinderella, that kind of fictional kind of thing. And I love the fact that it stays in theme. I know I may be rambling on things that may fly over your head and you're like, what is he saying? My point generally is there is a way Yoruba stories are usually told. This film tells a Yoruba story in that way. It doesn't try to westernize the story in a way that loses the essence of the Yoruba story as a Yoruba story. I also love the fact that it was done in Yoruba because, like I said, essence of a Yoruba story. It's a beautiful job that Kunle Afolayan did. There's so many other things that I loved about this film, but I'm not going to bore you with all of the details. If you've not seen the film and you somehow skipped the place where I said, go and see the film, now that you've heard all of this part, go and see the film. It was beautifully done. Another thing I didn't like about the film was the little nudity. By the way, it's not like I'm someone like... Okay, personally, I don't like nudity in films. However, if you've seen my review of... Is it Man of God? I've done so many reviews, I can't remember. Blood Sisters, where they just put nudity like naked people. In the film, just to put it there. It's different in this film because it takes the story forward and it's essential to the story, kind of, but I think it could have been done without. How they passed the information that Kunle Remi and Shola Shobowale were in a very sexual relationship without actually, showing somebody naked. They could have done it here. The only thing why I don't like this is because of the fact that I think, like in Hollywood movies, they, like I said, they usually just put it inside because well, we can't do it. And I don't like the fact that I think Nollywood movies are doing that because of the same reason, right? Like I said, there are times when it's needed to take the story forward. I think it takes the story forward a bit in this story, tells us some kind of level of intimacy. But do you know what I mean? Like, I just feel like they're just putting it there because, well, we can do it now, so let's do it. Because it's becoming more acceptable in the kind of films that we do now. And like why I said the film maintains like the essence of Yoruba law, I think that part of it just takes a bit out of it, and it feels like because if you watch Yoruba films that were in the early 2000s or in the late 90s, you won't see something like that. You get what I mean? So that's just the thing. Plus, probably my mom has watched the film. She expects me to say this in this review. So yeah. If I was to rate this film, the least I would give this film is an 8.5. And that's just because of one or two little things that I didn't like. But this movie is giving me 9 over 10 energy. Like, it was beautiful job. Actors were amazing. Story was amazing. Storyline was amazing. Screenplay was amazing. Delivery was amazing. Directing was amazing. Set design was amazing. Location, they built everything from scratch. You get what I mean? Like, this movie was just giving me 9 over 10 energy. If you like this review, please like this video and also subscribe to my channel. I am currently reading Death and the King's Horseman. Yoruba. I am currently reading Death and the King's Horseman by Wole Soyinka in preparation for another Yoruba film that is coming out this year, Election Oba. I hope I'm pronouncing that well also because my accent is usually very nonsense. So yeah, see you.